Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Halo Chronicle. This is part 11 in my Fall of the Forerunner series. If you've not seen parts 1 through 10, I highly recommend you check those out first. Links will be in the description below. Last time, we discussed a crisis in Forerunner command. Bornsteller lost the confidence of the other Forerunner commanders, and after mounting losses, changed his strategy from one of offense to defense. He also came to the conclusion that the Halo Array was the only remaining solution to this current crisis. Meanwhile, the Didact returned to the Forerunner Ecumene with the assistance of the Master Builder. After being deposed, the Didact makes his way back to his primary shield world, Requiem. In his absence and madness, the Master Builder is once again put in charge of flood defense. The Master Builder orders all remaining Forerunners to evacuate and shelter at the Greater Ark. The Didact performs a series of experiments intent on finding a cure for the flood infection. He finds what he thinks is the best solution. He composes his warrior servant army and imprints their digital essences on mechanical bodies. Thus, they are given an immunity to the flood, but the size of the army is too small to combat the flood on the scale needed. The Didact comes to the conclusion that he needs to somehow supplement his forces. Upon learning of his survival, the Librarian and Bornsteller arrange a reunion to discuss their final plans. This is going to conclude last week's recap. Let's jump into today's chapter. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the Librarian and Didact are reunited on their homeworld of Namdagro. Accompanying the Librarian was Bornsteller. This was the first time that both Didacts were in the same system since the Sanchayum quarantine zone. This meeting was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but it would quickly turn sour. To start this reunion, both the Didact and Bornsteller would have a private meeting. The two would discuss the various discoveries each had made in the other's absence. Then the meeting would become heated. Bornsteller would state that he believed the only solution to the current crisis would be the activation of the Halo Array. The Didact still vehemently opposed the use of the Halo Array. The Didact would insult his duplicate. Before the confrontation could turn physical, the Librarian interjected herself in between the two. During the subsequent conversations, the Librarian and Bornsteller would see the extent of madness that now consumed the mind of the Didact. Before the meeting could continue further, precursor structures would appear in the system. This signaled the impending arrival of the flood. The three would split into two ships and attempt to escape the system. Using a rarely used form of slip-space travel called a crisis jump, the Librarian and Bornsteller would escape in their ship Audacity. The Didact would follow behind in his ship Mantle's Approach. The jump would be successful, but due to the rough nature of this passage, it would take these Forerunners some time to recover. When they did finally recover, they would find themselves at the Greater Ark. The Librarian and Bornsteller would be greeted by a most unwelcome but familiar Forerunner, Faber, the Master Builder. The Master Builder would inform the two that he and Builder Command had assumed control by authority of the Forerunner Council. Faber would also advise the Librarian that her specimens, including her humans, were moved to Omega Halo to make room for Forerunners on the Ark itself. This would anger and upset the Librarian as she did not have the number of transports or time to get them off the Halo. Many worried that a flood attack may be imminent as Mendicant Bias knows the coordinates of the Greater Ark. In a desperate act to save as many specimens as possible, the Librarian would assign a Gargantua-class ship to an unlikely Forerunner attendant. Monitor Chakas was assigned to take a Gargantua-class ship to the Halo and recover as many human specimens as possible. Bornsteller would then be summoned to a command conference to go over strategy. Before all of the remaining Forerunner commanders could meet to plan their defense, the Didact and Master Builder would have one last confrontation. Aboard the Warrior Servant's flagship Mantle's Approach, the Didact would reveal the most terrifying and disturbing truths to the Master Builder. He would reveal that all of the Master Builder's wives and children were consumed by the flood and were now a part of a grave mind. The Didact would then display a message from the Master Builder's family while being a part of this grave mind. This message devastated the Master Builder and destroyed his arrogant bravado. When confronted by this, the Master Builder would ask the Didact why he would be so cruel as to show him this recording. The Didact took pleasure in revealing this information and wanted to see the Master Builder suffer for sending him into the burn. He also wanted to give the Master Builder the gift of sympathy, which he could use as leverage to get all of the Forerunner commanders to rally to his cause. Why the Didact would do this would not be revealed until much later. The two departed each other's company. A defeated Master Builder would join the command conference, and the Didact would have one final visit with his wife, the Librarian. The Forerunner commanders bickered back and forth about who should lead them. Many of them wanted to seek out the Didact and put him in charge of the defense. Before it could come to that, the Master Builder joined the conference. He arrogantly recounted the events that led them here. The Master Builder would then reveal the extent of the Didact's madness. He would reveal the painful truth the Didact told him about his family. As the Didact predicted, this would help the Master Builder gain sympathy from the other Forerunner commanders. As a result, they did indeed rally to his cause. The Master Builder revealed the existence of the Lesser Ark and the Neoteric Halo Array. The Master Builder would put Bornstellar in charge of going to the Lesser Ark and releasing the array. To buy time, the Master Builder and the rest of the Forerunner commanders would remain behind to battle Mendicant Bias and the Flood. He would reveal that the Halo radiation would nullify neurophysical architecture. The Master Builder planned to fire Omega Halo to cut a path through the star roads and give Bornstellar a path in which to escape. While the Forerunner commanders finalized their plans, the Didact met with his wife, the Librarian. This meeting would not go well. The Didact, fully gripped by the madness instilled to him by the Grave Mine, would reveal that he had discovered another solution to the Flood, but he refused to reveal the solution to the Librarian. The Librarian was able to observe that her husband was lost in his madness, but before she could stop him, Offensive Bias would make an announcement to all of the remaining Forerunners at the Greater Ark. Offensive Bias would reveal that Flood forces were now present in the system and star roads were closing in on the Greater Ark's position. These forces would be led by the Didact's creation, Mendicant Bias. The Didact quickly departed for his ship Mantl's Approach. All of the Forerunner commanders assembled in Omega Halo's control room. The Master Builder summoned Bornstellar there so he could see the tremendous power of Halo firsthand. When the Master Builder entered the chamber, he provided Bornstellar with the coordinates to the Lesser Ark. He then primed Omega Halo to fire. The Halo was pointed at Path Chthona. The hope was that the remaining precursor structures in Path Chthona would be destroyed by the resulting Halo radiation. Before the Master Builder could fire this Halo, he would state that regardless of the outcome of this battle, he would remain on this Halo. He would share the fate of the Greater Ark in his Omega Halo installation. He would state that he finally understands what a crime against the mantle is, and that there would be no need to seek further balance. With that, the Master Builder released the awesome power of the Omega Halo. As the Master Builder predicted, all precursor structures in the Halo's firing path would dissolve and melt away, creating a clear path for escape. As the Flood forces, commanded by Mendicant Bias, moved in, the Didact would commit one of the ultimate acts of betrayal. He positioned Mantle's Approach above Omega Halo and released a Composer. Thousands of Sentinels loyal to the Didact blocked and moved all ships from Mantle's Approach, including Monitor Chakas' Gargantua-class ship. Within an instant, the Didact composed all of the remaining humans on Omega Halo. The Didact planned to use the human essences to further expand his army, thus giving him the numbers that he would need to fight the Flood on a large scale. This shattered the Librarian. All of her hard work collecting specimens was wasted. This act of betrayal was the last strain on thousands of years of love. After his awful task was completed, the Didact would escape the system using the wake created by Halo's firing. The Librarian ordered Monitor Chakas to find Bornstellar and take what humans he had gathered to the Lesser Ark. She then sent a message to one of her senior life workers, Chant to Green, who was hiding on the other side of the galaxy. She instructed Chant to go to Erde Tyrene and gather all the humans that she could find. The Librarian said that she would meet Chantagreen on Erde Tyrene after one final task. She then plotted a course to follow her husband to his primary shield world, Requiem. After the firing of Omega Halo, new star roads quickly moved in to replace the destroyed ones. Bornstellar's transit was destroyed on approach by a cluster of star roads that was literally wrapping itself around the Halo. The Halo was then shattered into several pieces. Bornstellar was ejected into space where he assumed he would die. Before that could happen, Monitor Chakas came to his rescue. Bornstellar was pulled into the Gargantua-class vessel for safety. Bornstellar would lose consciousness and take a short time to recover following this event. Meanwhile, the Star Roads would complete their awful task of destroying Omega Halo. They would then swarm around the Greater Ark. Slowly and methodically, the Greater Ark is destroyed piece by piece. The once proud symbol of Forerunner power is no more. Forerunner governance is no more. This was the final major conflict in this terrible war. It would leave the Forerunners on the brink of total extinction. Even though he had many faults and committed many wrongdoings, the Master Builder did everything in his power to protect his people at the end of the war. Through his planning and sacrifice, the Master Builder left one final gift for the Forerunners: a weapon. A weapon the Forerunners could use to exact their revenge. A weapon that could make the Flood's victory bitter and hollow. A weapon of last resort. This is going to complete today's video. Before we close things out, let's talk about some interesting facts related to today's video. Monitor Chakas was able to gather some humans prior to the Didact's surprise attack. Among those humans was Riser. Riser was Chakas' friend and mentor back on Erde Tyrene. He also accompanied Bornstellar and Chakas when the Didact was revived from his exile on Erde Tyrene. Riser was also present on the Rogue Halo. Our next fun fact is about Bornstellar's reaction to the Didact's betrayal. Bornstellar would learn of the Didact's treachery while in the command center of Omega Halo. He wanted to help the Librarian, but his transport was not strong enough to attack Mandel's approach. Our last fact is going to be about the tactics of Mendicant Bias during its attack on the Greater Ark. When attacking the Greater Ark, Mendicant Bias would incorporate many attacking formations that were championed by the Didact. In effect, Mendicant Bias would use Forerunner tactics against them. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed today's content, please don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Part 12 will be coming next week. That part will detail the final preparations the Forerunners would need to make before distributing and activating the Halo array. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.